Welcome, families. We are glad that you're able to join us this evening. Tonight, we're going to be going over our summer learning at home literacy kits that were provided for our 4th and 5th grade families. This is something that we decided to purchase just to provide an opportunity for there to be additional learning over the summer and to help to ensure that there's not that summer learning loss. So I am going to pass it over to Angie Meredith, and she's going to be our presenter this evening. You should have your kits in front of you. Feel free to have those out so that you can be just engaged with the materials. And if you've got any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we'll be more than welcome to answer those. So go ahead, Angie, you can get started.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Angie Meredith. I am a senior educational consultant. I work with Hand2Mind. I'm a former classroom teacher. I taught all grade levels as a regular classroom teacher, as an intervention teacher, as a district coach. So spent lots of years in education. This is year 42 in education. So I hope to show you, this is a magnificent kit that you can work with your student on this summer. Okay, so I'm going to kind of walk you through what's in this kit. How do I use it? How does my child use it? Okay, and this is available to all of our 4th and 5th graders. So as I'm looking at this Learning at Home literacy kit, I want you to know that you really only need to spend about 15 to maximum of 30 minutes to get the most out of this kit. What you see in front of you in that picture is what's included. That is the 4th grade kit. The 5th grade kit looks just like it, except it has a different book, but it does have the same materials. What I want to do is walk you through what's in that kit. So know that in this kit that we've got 6 weeks of learning. So you don't want to try to do all of it in 1 week or try to, overdo it, but 6 weeks of learning. And I'm going to show you how you can pace that out. Know that these activities are standards aligned literacy activities. They're very easy to follow. There's going to be a calendar that I'm going to show you in here. There's going to be some games that you can do with your students. And there's some hands-on manipulatives that are included. We also have some Spanish support should you need that. So as I'm looking at this kit, there are parent letters in there. So you may want to locate that at the beginning of your book. And let me just kind of show you real quick. I apologize, my dogs are letting me know somebody's near the yard. If I open up my book, the very beginning, there is a parent letter. And that parent letter is going to kind of walk you through. It is in English, and on the back, it is also written in Spanish. But one other thing I really want to point out to you is in the front cover, there's also a code for an answer key. We get a lot of parents that ask us, I'm not quite sure if we got all the right answers, but you can log into there and get the answer key so that you can kind of check your child's work. All of the directions for any activity, whether it's a study page, whether it's a game, all of the directions are very easy to follow, and they're written in both English and Spanish. So here's the activity calendar I was talking about. So I want you to kind of find that in your book, kind of turn sideways. In this book, it's on page 3. And you'll notice that activity calendar walks you through each day, each week, which activity you should be doing. So for example, if I look at week 1, this one is 4th grade, the first day, notice at the top it's called Model It. That means I'm going to be using some sort of a manipulative to work with my student on something. Okay, so this first week I'm doing prefixes, suffixes, and roots, page 8 to 9, and that's all I'm going to do that day. Okay, and then my question to my student, my child, is, how did you use your color tiles to make the words with the prefixes? So I'm actually using something hands-on that first day. On Monday, usually. On Tuesday, the next day, it says explain it. And I'm doing prefixes, suffixes, and roots again. But this time I want to explain, how are my prefixes and suffixes the same? How are they different? And I'm doing pages 10 and 11. The next day I would continue answering questions, and I'm going to actually be doing a literacy activity. Notice at the top it's labeled work with words. So I'm going to be reading a little bit more that day, pages 12 to 13. And I'm going to be answering some questions about what we've read. Then on the fourth day is talk about it. I'm describing some character traits. Page 14, 15. I'm talking about the main character in the story. How are you and the character the same? How are you different? And doing some discussion. And then on the fifth day, I'm doing a game. Have fun. We've got a game built in. It's got the game board, the directions. If you need dice, there is a dice down in your bag. And any cards that you might need are also in there. You just cut them out. Okay, so that's the calendar, 6 weeks of activities, and you're just doing one activity per day. Notice it has a little box in front of the activity so your child can actually check it off. So let's say the first day they want to do that first one, but the second day they want to skip over and do the describing the character. That's fine. You can kind of mix it up, but for them to keep track, they can just make little check marks in their calendar for it. Now, I mentioned that there were some hands-on materials in your kit. There were some manipulatives. So here's good discussion in your book about, so what is a manipulative and why am I using it in literature? I know that I've seen it before in math, but I'm not sure how to use them with literacy. So it's going to explain what they are. It's going to explain why do we even use them? And then it's going to show us what some of the manipulatives are in the kit. So if you reach down in your bag, go ahead and pull out those materials. And I'm going to move over to my document camera and let's talk about some of these. I'm going to take my camera off so I can kind of slide over here. One of the manipulatives that is talked about are color tiles. And let me show you what these are. And you've got a little bag of these 1-inch tiles. Okay, they're just foam tiles. But what we're going to be using them for, I know that your student has used them before in math, but in literacy, we're going to be using them to show patterns and relationships between word parts and words. So I'm going to be looking at prefixes, suffixes. I'm going to be looking at root words, and I'm going to be actually touching the tile as we talk about them. Okay, so I can visually sort words, visually sort parts of sentences or ideas, words that are opposites, words that are antonyms, words that are synonyms. Okay, so I can actually look at two. For example, on the page, it has a green tile and then a yellow tile. And the student would actually point to this one, reuse. So the word reuse has the prefix re, the root word use. So as they're touching these tiles, we need to think that a lot of times that students do learn a lot when they're touching things physically. Tactile learners, kinesthetic learners, they need to actually touch it as they're saying it. And so I can break words apart. I can look at opposites. I have hot, I have cold, and I can actually touch them hot, cold, and talk about antonyms. Also in my kit, I have what's called a finger focus highlighter. This is probably the favorite of the kids, okay? Now in your finger focus highlighter, you have 4 different colors. Students, as they're reading, can track their words using their finger focus highlighter. So it comes with a small ring. So they just actually take the color that they want. And I would have them look at some different words under different colors because different students see words a little bit easier using different colors. I would have them look at some different phrases, different words, see which one works the best. I'm going to slide the yellow one in. So there's just a little thing that slides in like that. And then they just slide their finger in and they can track their reading. So for example, if I had a story I needed to read, such as this one, notice that when I'm just looking here and trying to track with my finger, it's a little difficult. But when I put my finger focus highlighter on top, kind of brings out those words. And then I can easily track as I'm reading either aloud or if I'm reading to myself. Okay. So this is our finger focus highlighter. And you know, when you're reading late at night, you can borrow this from your student. So again, it does have the different colors, and that's because some students find it easier to see. And just out of curiosity, I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to use a different color. And then I want you to try different colors and see if you see a difference. So here's a blue. Here's purple. Yellow. Excuse me, or clear. Okay. So allow them to kind of try a few out and see which ones work the best. And that again is a finger focus highlighter. Oops, sorry. You've got some pattern blocks. So let's go ahead and take those out. And again, they've seen these before in math, but they're great for literacy because I can take these to show relationships between different literary elements. So for example, I can do story patterns. I can talk about different elements like the characters or the problem in the story. What does the character do? Solutions, setting, plot, all kinds of things by using my pattern blocks. Okay. And one of the biggest ones that we get questions about is our versatiles. So I'm actually going to do in just a minute a versatile activity with you and walk you through so that you're using the actual versatile kit. Okay. So again, if you forget everything that I've said, or if you go, you know what, I don't really see how we're going to use these, you've got this in your book. You've got directions for how do I work with these manipulatives? What manipulatives do I have? How do I use them? Okay. So as I'm looking again at fourth grade, you've got fourth grade, we've got fourth grade and fifth grade today. The fourth grade kit has a versatile answer case. It's got a finger focus highlighter set. It's got one die, 27 different pattern blocks, 20 color tiles, and then it's got the activity book. Fifth grade has the same materials, but different activities in the book. And again, your book includes calendar. It includes a key for the answer key. It includes games. It includes practice pages. It includes different practices that I can use, or different pages I can use with my versatiles. Okay, so let's look. This is an example of what a sheet might look like for my students to work on. This particular one is working on prefixes, suffixes, and roots. Notice at the very top of the page, it's going to give me some quick directions. It's going to tell me what is a prefix, and I would go over these directions with your student. A prefix is the word part that's added to the beginning of a root word. So we're going to be looking at some of these words and we're going to be locating where the prefix is. Then we're going to use some color tiles to model those word parts. for each of the words. We're going to touch that first tile. We're going to say the prefix. We're going to touch the second tile and say the root word. And then finally, we're going to put those two together. So for example, number 1 for reheat, I would expect them to put one color down for re, another color down for heat. I would expect them to touch them, reheat, and then put them together, reheat. And I would look at prefixes and discuss what do each of these prefixes mean. Un is not, untied, not tied. Pre is before. And again, we can talk about prefix. Why do we call it that? It's before. Re, again, miss is not or wrong. Dis is opposite of, and in is not. So as they're looking at each one of these words, we're talking about the prefix, talking about the root word, and putting those two together. Okay. So this is just an example of one page, and this, I believe, is out of our 4th grade book. Okay. We also will have pages or days where we're actually going to be reading some passages and talking about this particular one is describing the character in the story. So again, notice at the top, it gives me directions in English. It also gives me directions in Spanish. This particular one, we're reading an entire story. Notice it says, read the story using your finger focus highlighter. Sometimes students get a little overwhelmed when it looks like there's a lot of words on the page or a lot of things that they have to read. Using that finger focus highlighter kind of breaks it up for them a little bit. Okay. And then again, I reminded you that there are some games. So every Friday, there's a game or an activity over what we've been working on. So take a look at this game. I'm going to need some color tiles. I'm going to need my die. I'm going to need my affix and root word cards. Okay, so we'll have to cut them out first. And then I need a work mat. So here are my directions. Notice my directions are very clear. And I've got English and Spanish directions. So I'm shuffling up my root word cards and I'm putting them in a pile, and I'm laying my affix cards out face up. I'm rolling a die to tell me what to select. I'm choosing a prefix, or I'm choosing a suffix depending on what I rolled. So if I rolled a 2, I'm going to choose a prefix. If I rolled a 6, I'm going to choose a suffix, and then I'm going to turn over a root word card, and I'm going to actually build that word. Notice on the second page, it's got an area for where to place my prefix, my root word, and my suffix. So I need to think about where my suffix goes, where my prefix goes, and how I can put it together with my root word to build that new word. Here are my cards that I'm going to need to cut out. That is included in your book. I would take them and put them in a little Ziploc bag when you get finished, because you can always revisit that game. Okay, so here's the question. Here's our versatiles. So let's take a look. So I do want you to actually take out your versatile case. So go ahead and take it out, unwrap it, and let's take a look at it. And we're going to try one activity with it. So I'm going to walk you through versatiles as you're unwrapping yours. These are self-checking. So all of the versatile activities have 12 questions, 12 answers. Okay. So the first thing that you would ask your child to do is just number the tiles at the top in the blue section, 1 through 12. And then as they solve problems in the book, they're going to find the answers at the bottom of the grid, and they're going to move their tiles to the bottom. When they've answered all 12 questions, they're going to close their case, they're going to flip it over, and they're going to look at the pattern at the bottom. Okay, so let's try one together. So I want you to, I'm going to move over to my camera. This is the activity that we're going to be doing. It's called Context Clues. So this is an actual page out of your student's book. And we're going to be looking at words in dark print and thinking about how they're used in a sentence. Notice at the very bottom, A through L, these are the answers that I'm going to be choosing from. Okay. So if you're not shy, you can take your mic off and you can, I think you can. But if not, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it out loud, just like you would with your student. Okay, I'm going to move over to my camera and we're going to try this one. All right, let's take a look. So the first thing that we wanted to do, remember, was to number our tiles from 1 through 12 up at the top. So we have them numbered. We're going to be answering 12 questions, one at a time. Okay. My answer choices at the bottom are the words hard, common, not cheerful, quick, not wild, not deep, unsafe, badly behaved, big, eager, nearby, or fussy. So I know it's kind of hard to see both the answers. Oh, hang on a minute. The answers and the things at the same time. But let me see if here we go. I can actually do it like this. Let's do it like this. Okay. So you can kind of see the answers at the bottom. All right. So I'm going to pick up tile number 1 to begin with. I always tell kids to hold it in their hand. So number 1 says, it was a gloomy day with gray skies and rain. And I would say, what does gloomy mean? And thinking about the sentence with gray skies and rain. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust this so we can see everything at once. So what would I pick? Gray skies, gloomy. So hopefully they would say, that doesn't sound like it's a very nice day. Okay, so I would say out of those word choices that it's not cheerful. And not cheerful is the answer at C. So I'm going to take tile 1 and place it on C. Pick up tile number 2. And the question is, Jake acted naughty, refusing to finish his chores. So naughty, and they should know what naughty is. But if I'm looking at naughty and I'm looking at my answer choices, I'm going to choose badly behaved, and that's under H. So tile number 2 gets placed on H. Number 3, pick up the tile, hold it in your hand. Our newspaper focuses on local stories, such as school sports and town events. Local. So as I'm looking at my word choices, local would be nearby, which is K. So I'm going to take tile 3 and put it in K. Number 4, Ellen made a hasty decision. Hasty. Okay, hard, common, not cheerful, quick, not wild, not deep, fussy, nearby, eager, big, badly behaved, unsafe. Okay, quick. We said hasty decision buying the first dress she saw. So she did it quickly. So that's D. Number 5. Now, if you don't agree with any of my answers, you let me know. Not looking at the answer key. Number 5. We only wade in shallow water, like puddles that barely wet our ankles. So shallow water, as I'm looking at my choices, barely reached my ankles, so it is not deep, F. Number 6, Anne's bicycle with brakes that don't work is too dangerous to ride. Dangerous. Brakes that don't work is completely unsafe. So I'm going to place number 6 on G. Okay, we're halfway done. Number 7. Nia couldn't hide how impatient she was, asking what time her sister would be home. So impatient. Okay. asking what time her sister would be home. So as I'm looking at my choices, impatient, I'm pretty eager. I want it, I want the answer now. I want to know when she's going to be home. Number 8, we did the difficult tasks last, such as moving furniture up the stairs. Difficult. So out of my answer choices, difficult, that's pretty hard to move furniture upstairs. Number 9, James can be very particular, insisting that his food is prepared exactly how he likes it. So particularly, I want my food just the way I want it. I'm very fussy. So I'm going to place 9 on L. Number 10, Earth's most immense animal, the blue whale, can weigh up to 2 tons. So immense, 2 tons, that's a lot. That's a very large animal. So as I'm looking down here, I'm going to select big, which is under I. Number 11, the squirrels in our yard are so tame, they let us feed them. And if I'm looking at my choices that are left, common or not wild, tame would be not wild. Now, normally when they get down to number 12, they just stick it in the last one, but I always encourage them because we could have gotten things mixed up. Always read and make sure that you have them in the right spot. Number 12, Andy writes about ordinary events such as going to school and playing soccer. And does that work with common? Yes. Okay. So I've answered all 12 questions. I hope they're right, and as kids look at them, they want to think that they've got them all right. So in order to check them, they're just going to close the lid. And when they close it, they can kind of snap it closed. Then they just take it and they're going to just flip it over this way, and it makes a pattern at the bottom. The pattern at the bottom should match the pattern that's at the bottom of the page. That I just closed the book, so let's look at the bottom of our page. Okay, and that pattern should match this pattern right here, and it does. Okay. Now, one of the most common questions we get is, my child is just going to memorize it. Question number 1 went to this letter. Question number 2 went to the other letter. Well, that's fine and well, and you'll know that they did that because when they flip it over, there are different patterns. So depending on the activity, it's going to be a different pattern. So they can't possibly memorize all of the different patterns. Okay, they really like this quick self-check. Oh, so they can work on the activity. They can put the tiles where they believe they fit, and then they can just self-check by flipping over the case. And then they're ready to try again with another one by opening it and placing their tiles back at the top, 1 through 12. Okay. Do we have any questions about any of the manipulatives so far? And I'm going to flip back over. I did not see any. You can always pop it in the chat if you've got a question at any time. So we've looked at this book. We have different activities in this book. We've got a calendar that we can go through and do 15 to 30 minutes a day is all it takes to increase our child's literacy skills. We've got manipulatives that we can use that they can actually touch and talk about these particular skills. We've got Versatiles, which is a fabulous product that kids like, that they can self-check. Answer key is in the front of the book. And I've got a parent letter and some descriptions for you. So it's a really nice laid out program. So we wanted support as we were developing these kits. We wanted to support and let you not be overwhelmed. We want something that's easy for you to implement at home. Okay, so as you're looking at this little quote, at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is the positive involvement of parents. And knowing that you're just here today with us today, that shows a lot about the support that you provide your child. because we know that as we're looking at children's indicators of children's success, that the most positive, most accurate predictors of student achievement in school are not just family, they're not family income, they're not social status, none of that, but it's to the extent with which a family creates a home environment that encourages that learning, communicates a high but reasonable expectations with your child, and becomes involved in your child's education at school. Okay, very, very important. So I want to answer any questions. I want you to either use the chat box or unmute to ask any questions about the program that's being sent home for you and your child to work on over the summer. Remember that that answer key code is in the inside front cover of the book. That's always very helpful. Okay, no questions. So I do want to let you know that Leslie Hatton is on with us as well, and she is the educational sales consultant for all of Ohio. So if there are any other materials you want, and if you've got questions about your materials, if you have anything defective in your kit or whatever, please make sure you reach out. She is your partner in education.
Thank you, Angie.
Mm-hmm. And Sharice, was there anything else you wanted me to address?
No, thank you so much, Angie. We appreciate you just giving us that very thorough overview of all of the resources. Again, parents, thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. We really appreciate during this very busy time of the year, you taking out a little bit of time. And we hope that this really will be helpful as you're working with your children at home. Please also give us feedback. Mr. Miller, the principal, was not able to join us this evening, but if there is any type of feedback that you would like to share regarding the success of these resources, we would love to hear it. And that's it for tonight. So thank you again and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Sharice and and
We have a
Angie.
student, yay.
Yay! This is great. All right.
That's great. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Angie.
Have
Thanks,
fun.
Sharice. Bye-bye.
Thank you.